It's a new day. It's a new day, and you know what that means. More progress. We're doing more stuff today. So I have a goal for today, and the goal is to get that ready to be test fit in this car in the next video, because that's what we're doing in the next video. So today, we need to source some O-rings. They're discontinued O-rings for the coolant crossover tube for the EG33, that big old guy right over there. So we're gonna have to go run around to like AutoZone, Harbor Freight, a couple other places to go see if we can find these O-rings. They're pretty universal. They're just small little O-rings, so I don't think we'll have a huge issue finding them. But I have an abundance of things to show you guys before we even get into working on this car today. So to start things off, we got the new Johnnies for the car, and they are some pretty wide boys right there. So these are 18 by 11 plus 16s. These are wheels that I've wanted for a while, and of course I'm going to show you guys here in a second. Actually, right now. So these are a set of Anki RS055Rs, I believe, or something similar to that. It's actually printed on the wheel. What is it? RS05RR. All right, so these are Anki RS05RRs. They are 18 by 11 plus 16. So yeah, they're pretty wide wheels. That means that we're doing a little bit of flare or wide body action on this thing. So I got this fender temporarily bolted back on just to see where we're kind of sitting with like wheel fitment. So I'm thinking like maybe a little baby flare coming off, like the ML24 Maxton Design ones, I believe is who makes those. Tire ideas for this, I'm still open to possibilities. I'm thinking maybe like a 295/30 or a 295/35 for these. I don't know. I want some meaty boys on these things just to be able to handle all the added power on the car. Grip is not something that I want to be fighting with. So these things look awesome. Absolutely love them. They are a wheel that I've wanted for a very long time. So selling the works was able to fund me to buy the wheels. Now we just need tires. But also, aside from that, so this is something that I did want to show you guys because it's something that is going to be needed if you guys plan on doing this. So like I've been saying, we did swap to an EJ series oil pump here. If you are swapping to an EJ series oil pump, you do need to modify this crank sprocket. So as you can see, our crank sprocket is back from the fabricator and modified. So all he did was cut off all the teeth on that back plate right there, and then extend all of the front teeth to the back plate by just welding on these little, I guess, shims is what you could call them. So now when we slide this guy on, if we come up here and we look through that tiny little hole right there where the crank position sensor sits, it'll actually read where our crank is sitting. So that was a pretty important part that we needed to get done. So I'm glad that's knocked out. As for this area, O-rings, we're looking for these tiny little baby O-rings. I have the two bigger ones that go back here, but we need what, 1, 2, 3, 4 of these little baby ones. We'll take measurements. We'll go to AutoZone today, Harbor Freight, and we'll go find them. Second, I've been trying to clean some bolts today, well, the past couple days. Someone suggested using vinegar. It's been working. Like, they've been sitting in there for like a day now. I'm gonna go try to buy some of that like rust off or whatever you guys suggested. I posted it on Instagram. I don't remember the actual name of it, but it's some fancy like rust remover stuff like that. And then lastly, this took me a hot minute to find where this goes. So this is our cam position sensor. I was looking all over this thing because normally on EJs, your cam position sensors will sit like up here, and then down below, just to read where the cam is sitting. Now on this, a little bit different. The cam position sensor actually sits right there behind the cam gear, and then just reads based off of these little marks that are on the back side of the cam gear. So if any of you guys are doing this and you come across this part and you're like, where the hell does this go? It literally just bolts right back there. So first things first, I'm the realist. Psych. We need to get some of this wiring cleaned up in here, so that way when we go to test fit this engine in here, we're not pulling out any wires that we don't need. So we're going to start today off with some wiring. So we're going to loom up that section down there. That's literally all headlight, fog light for the passenger side of the car. Over here, we do need to remove this sensor and depin it. This is the low washer reservoir dealio that just kind of gets in the way. Shout out to Charlie for helping me figure out where that goes, because obviously I have nothing to reference down there. And then the last thing that I do need to pull out of this car today from this wiring mess in here is the stock OBD2 port. So I'm going to run through here real quick, depin that from the ECU on that side, get that out of the car. We'll get that other little sensor out from up here, and then we can start working on the motor. So let's get the tedious stuff out of the way and just get to work. A lot of updates. Sorry, you guys. Just went through a bit and cleaned things up, so there's no more like mess of spaghetti down here. I was gonna keep going on all this, but I need a little bit larger loom. This is just what they had at AutoZone. What is this? 3/8 inch. So I need a little bit bigger to be able to properly get all of this stuff up in a nice loom right there. But I got everything sorted out. I ended up de-pinning the fog light connector down there to kind of separate the wires out from everything else right here, so that way it's not running through that massive bundle down there. Now to de-pin wires, I do want to show you guys this because it is good info to have. To de-pin these connectors without cutting everything, typically you're going to have locks on them. So this little guy right on top right there is the lock that locks all of the pins in there. And then inside of there, there's little locking tabs that you just pull up on with a very small pick or whatever you have. I've been using this like Craftsman pick set that's been working pretty well. It's got like a super small pick on there, so that way I'm able to lift up the locks and pull these out. But this is the OBD2 connector. That's now out of the car. OBD2 is now de-wired out of this thing. Loom's cleaned up, so that way when we go to test fit the motor in, we're not going to be snagging on a whole bunch of wires down there. I'm going to clean this up off camera, so that way you guys aren't watching me do a ton of wiring stuff. But next up, we are going to swing over to Harbor Freight to try to find some O-rings. So I tried cleaning up these bolts with some vinegar and brake clean, and it just wasn't working to get the rust off of them. So I'm going to try something that you guys suggested, whatever that rust remover stuff was. I want to try to clean these bolts up because those are the bolts for this crossover tube for the water pipe that sits on top of the engine. So we're going to go grab some of that rust stuff, grab like an O-ring kit, so that way we can try to... Can I get that tape off there? Try to find some O-rings that are going to fit on those small little guys. We'll get the crossover tube bolted on. We'll get the cam position sensor in the car. And then we're going to start getting some of the timing components on here as well. I can't fully get the timing covers and everything dressed today because I'm waiting on these seals right here, which I don't know why I didn't order sooner. But because there are no cam gears up top, we do need to seal this port off. So it's just a plug that sits in there. So swing over to Harbor Freight, go grab some goodies and keep going on this. Ran to Harbor Freight. I don't know why I'm walking backwards, but ran to Harbor Freight and got in like an O-ring assortment set. They don't have a lot of options for what we're doing here, but I found like one of these guys. I don't know the quality of the O-rings. Hopefully they hold up and seal. I also got some rust remover, and then I had to grab some more gloves because my gloves all ran out. So let's start like test fitting some O-rings on this thing. I don't even know what bolts I need for that coolant crossover because all of those are disconnected discontinued also. So we're gonna start going through our bolt bin. We'll spray off any of them that have rust on it with this rust remover. Then we'll get them on the engine and bolt this thing down because one less part sitting around the garage at this point. Bro, you know that parts have been sitting in a warehouse for so long that the logo on the Subaru part number is the old logo from like 10 years ago. So I guarantee you those are gonna be discontinued as soon as stock runs out on them. All right, so we got the big O-rings that sit in the back here. So we've got that guy that just ploops down in his home. Look at that, that one sits nicely. Well, it's meant for that one. And then we've got this one, whoop, this guy that sits right there, boop. Now let me open up one of these smaller ports here. Now what O-ring size will fit there? That's a little too small, and now it's stuck. It's a little too small and now it's stuck. Oh my God, I got it stuck. There we go. Try one size bigger. That's still a little too small. Bro, I don't think any of these are gonna fit. I need like an in-between size. All right, back to Harbor Freight I go. You know what, I'll be right back. Okay, round two with this O-ring thing. So I think I've got something here that's going to work. So, I mean, if you guys can see it, there's actually two O-rings right there to make that seal. This is the dumbest thing. This is an SAE size O-ring kit. The other one that I had was metric and none of them fit. It's like a custom O-ring size, which is stupid. Like, come on, Subaru, why you gotta do this to me? Why is this discontinued? So let me go through here and canoodle the rest of these together to make this work. I mean, it's going to seal, don't get me wrong. It's just stupid that I have to use a small O-ring in the center and then a bigger O-ring to fill out the rest of the voids to be able to get those to fit. Like, just keep making that part, come on. So how many more of these ports we got? I mean, honestly, I do think it'll seal. It's like sitting in there. Once there's something like actually bolted down to it, it should be totally fine. So I used one of these smaller ones first to kind of tighten up around the center of the circle. So that guy just kind of hangs out right there. And then I got that bigger portion to fill, which is when I grab one of these bigger guys. I legitimately have like 700 O-rings right here. And you're trying to tell me that none of these fit. I just don't believe it. So what did I just do here? What did I just do? So those two have their O-rings. Come over here, pull off this port, pull off that port. So I used this tiny boy first. Got him on there, tiny boy. And then I use the biggest size, which is a 1/2 inch. And then that literally sits right on top, super snug. Yo, this took way longer than I wanted it to today, but our coolant crossover pipe is on. It's just less ports and less tape that I have to have on the engine. It looks good in this powder coat finish. I really like this color. That O-ring situation took way longer than I thought, so hopefully if anyone else is trying to do this, that information definitely helps you guys out. Now, so I've actually decided to say, fuck it. We are going to put the motor in the car today just to test fit. It's gonna come back out today, I think. It might, I don't know, I might leave it bolted in. We'll see. We might actually just leave it bolted in. I'm not entirely sure yet, but we're gonna test fit the motor in the car. I wanna do it. So I'm gonna go eat some leftover pizza real quick. We're gonna come back downstairs. I'm gonna clean up this engine bay a little bit more to get all of these wiring cleaned up just a little bit, just so that way the motor's not crushing any wires or anything like that, just because, like I said, I don't know how much space we're actually gonna have in this engine bay with this motor in there, but let's test fit this thing. I honey dicked everyone and I didn't mean to. I went upstairs, I sat down, I started eating my pizza, and then I realized I can't even get the motor mounts on the motor because I don't have motor mount bolts. So that's gonna have to wait till that order comes in. But I still have things I need to do on this, such as bolt-on accessories, brackets, all that stuff. So let's just keep chugging along and get the engine ready to be dropped in the car. So I've been going to town trying to figure out stuff on this. So you guys already know coolant crossover is bolted up. I got the IAG alternator relocation bracket temporarily mounted up here. So I did have to grind down just a small sliver of the backside of the bracket to be able to get it to fit. But essentially one side of the alternator is going to sit right there. The other side has a bolt that'll go through the backside right there, bolt on right there. And then our alternator is going to sit right about there in between those two guys. Down here, I'm starting to get timing components put on. So I've got the tensioner put on right here. I've got the tensioner slide dealio. I got this temporarily bolted on just because I don't want it sitting on the bench anymore. I don't want it to lose it or drop it behind something. Next up, I wanted to get all the pulleys on here, like this guy down here, that guy, and then that guy right there, but I am missing the bolts for them, or at least I don't know what they are. So I've been like digging through my bolt bin back here, trying to find like what hardware, because a lot of this in here is EJ hardware. And then all of these are EG, and then all of this is EG also. So I guarantee you the EG bolts that I need are somewhere in here. I just gotta dig through and find them wherever they are. So that, you know what, that's probably one of them right there. So I'm gonna keep digging through, finding stuff, getting things bolted up. I've got one cog pulley, and then one idler pulley right there. I'd like to get the power steering pump bracket bolted on, and then I also want to test fit these timing covers on, just to see what the engine would look like with the timing covers on there. So back to it. I'm gonna get these things temporarily put on. So as we continue test fitting and trying to figure out what will and what will not work, we're learning as we go. So this is an EJ 257 power steering pump bracket. This is an EG33 power steering pump bracket. Now, originally, I was just going to use this EG33 power steering pump bracket because there's nothing wrong with it. But what I found out is, see those three bolts right there? Boom, boom, boom. Those are a different size, or they're a different spacing apart than these. So you got boom, boom, boom. So originally, I'm going to be using that OEM STI power steering pump, but on this car. So I thought it would fit in this bracket, but obviously it's not going to bolt up to those. But what we know is it will bolt up here. So since we are relocating the alternator, and the alternator is now going to be sitting over here to the right, we can cut off part of this bracket and then get it powder coated to match everything else. We'll just do it the same color that we've been doing literally everything else on this engine. So what we know is the power steering pump bolt, there's a bolt that goes there, and there. So on this entire side, this whole, like, you can kind of see that silver line that I did right there going up. We're just going to lop all of that off right here from the other side of the bracket. Now, we don't want to go too far because then we're going to lose one of our mounting positions. So we're only going to cut off this shelf over here, and then we'll kind of like do a little small cutout over here. So let's bring this thing over to the vise, get it cut. We'll come back, we'll test fit. We'll make sure it still fits in the power steering pump over there. If that's the case, then we'll get this powder coated. We'll get it thrown back on the car. And then that's one less problem to have to worry about later. I'm just surprised that this power steering pump bracket is different from the EG33 one, because Subaru doesn't really change a lot of stuff over the years, but I am surprised also that this stock 2017 STI power steering pump bracket bolts right up to this engine from 1995. So let's get that thing cut. I love the fact that Subarus are like friggin' Legos, dude. We don't have to change a single thing with the power steering system now. Bracket bolts right up. Everything has been like lopped off. I smoothed all this out the best I can. I have to go up to the mod garage tomorrow, so I'll just powder coat this when I'm up there the same color as this, just so it matches like that. The bracket back there, the intake manifold, once that's powder coated, I'll probably powder coat this bracket also just to make it look nice. But this, I wasn't even planning on doing that today, and it, woo! Love it. So I mean, we almost have like a fully assembled motor at this point. I mean, timing's still not done on the car because I'm waiting for those bolts and everything to come in, but like mock-up assembly, everything's looking solid. So power steering pump will probably sit about yay high. Alternator will probably sit about yay high. We have so much room like down here for activity. I love it. But that is where I'm going to end it today, guys, because there's not really much else I can do on the motor until we get the last shipment of OEM parts in on this thing. Like, I'm going to keep going on the wiring in the background, cleaning things up, reluming stuff, and just putting wiring away at this point, especially in the engine bay, so that way when it does come time to test fit that engine in there, everything's out of the way. We can just drop it right in, bolt it up to the transmission, and see how everything looks. But like that gets me even more excited now, because now it's almost like a complete engine when I'm looking at it. Like, look at that. You can't see it because it's focused on my face, but I don't care. It looks good. So anyways, power steering situation taken care of at this point. That is good news. We got some timing components on the car. We got the IAG alternator relocation bracket modified to be able to fit with our setup. What else did we do? We got the coolant passage and the O-ring situation taken care of, which that took way longer than it should have today, trying to find O-rings. Like, who uses a proprietary size O-ring on a Subaru? Like, come on. And we got some other like stuff test fitted up on the engine. So this is like engine preparation to get dropped in the engine bay, because I need to have this thing fully assembled just to be able to judge how much room we have in there, and before it even goes to the fabricator, I have to figure it out. I might send it to the fabricator early before I even get the turbo, so that way he can start on doing the intercooler, the radiator, modifying the intake manifold, and some other stuff like that. But you know what, I'll actually ask him, and so we can start doing the oil pan stuff. But anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this one. So if you like the video, you know what to do. Go ahead, hit that like button, turn it black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, cyan. Somebody told me the color of the day yesterday, but I don't remember what the color actually was. So the color of the day today is going to be Tangelo. It's not only a fruit, it's also a color. And with that, if you guys are not already subscribed to the channel, hit your boy up one of these corners. No idea which one I will put it in quite yet, and I will catch you guys in the next one, because the next video, we're test fitting the engine regardless, so don't miss that one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, homies.